Hello everybody and welcome back to the Dragon's Library. So today, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 to review. And boy oh boy am I excited, because last week I was on call and I could not go watch this. So I went and watched it literally like 2 hours ago. I wrote the script in a bit of a rush. And it's good. I mean, obviously it's one of the Guardians movies, but given how, let's be real here, hit or miss the last phase of Marvel has been, I've liked Marvel movies generally, even some of the ones that are but I won't deny that none of them have been as solid as the ones that came before. However, it looks like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to change that. So, let's get into it. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is the third movie in the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. The Guardians movies have always been very fun movies. They've been some of Marvel's best movies, in my personal opinion. But for those of you who don't know what this is, it's basically where you get a bunch of a-holes who used to be sort of criminals, and now they gotta save the galaxy. That's basically all you need to know about the Guardians movies. If you want to understand the plot of this one, I mean, you can just jump into it. It's a pretty straightforward story, and a lot of this is separated from it, aside from the stuff with Peter and Gamora. But I would say that you should probably watch Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame to get the whole Guardians experience. Because Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame actually had a lot of ramifications for the Guardians, in particular with Gamora, so you'll be a little lost if you try and jump straight from 2 to 3, I think. That's just my personal opinion. Take it or leave it. It's your thing. Anyway. So, for this movie, we are back with the Guardians. Gamora's off doing her own thing. The Guardians have kind of put themselves back together. Yondu's sidekick, I forget his name off the top of my head, has kind of done his own thing. We have Cosmo, the Russian cosmonaut dog, who's also a telepath. I think he's telekinetic and telepathic, actually. We got Mantis, we got Peter Quill, Drax. Nebula has joined in as sort of like a Gamora-ish, the serious one role. We got Groot all back, he's all grown up again, and Rocket, who, believe it or not, actually ends up taking what I could consider one of the starring roles in this movie. Which is really weird, because Rocket has always been part of the duo with Groot. They've been part of some of the emotional beats. We all know that Rocket had some tragic backstory with the cybernetics thing, which is actually very well done in the first movie, where they just have him changing into his prison jumpsuit, and you see all the cybernetic scarring on his back, and Peter's just like, oh shit, he's been through some shit. But we finally get to figure out where it all comes from. Rocket was essentially experimented on by the High Evolutionary, who's this cosmic guy who likes to mess around with animals and humans and create entire new species, and his whole thing is about perfecting life. And Rocket was an experiment of his who managed to escape, but lost some of his friends in the process. You know, classic tragic backstory stuff. Basically, they get attacked by Adam Warlock, who was teased at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And the race that works for him, the Sovereign, were created by the High Evolutionary. So he sends the Sovereign and their new warrior to go capture Rocket, because he's this experiment he wants to get back for reasons. I'll get into that later. And he severely injures Rocket to the point where he's about to die, and it turns out they can't use their med packs on him because, well, Rocket is an experiment, and he's technically proprietary technology, which means they need the DRM code in order to prevent him from being murdered by the kill switch on his heart. Because that's a thing the High Evolutionary did, which is wow. So the whole movie takes place over 48 hours. They have 48 hours to go get the key to unlock the bomb on Rocket's heart and save his life, while the High Evolutionary is trying to get him back, so he wants to use Rocket as a new experiment in order to... I'm not going to really spoil why he wants Rocket. It's sort of complicated, and you kind of have to watch the show. I will say I really liked the twist on why Rocket's important to him, why he obsesses over him so much. And I liked the way that obsession became his undoing as he turned on his own people when he started being like, dude, we have an entire species to plant on an entirely new world to continue our work. What the hell are you doing? It's one raccoon. We can try again later. It's very interesting watching him fall apart. I actually very much liked it. All in all, though, that's kind of the thing I have to say for this entire movie. The characters and the actors are all on point here. This is some of Marvel's best work. I'm not even exaggerating there. I genuinely think this is some of Marvel's best work. Unlike previous Guardians movies where a lot of important plot points got subverted by jokes, what jokes are in serious things feel much more naturally woven in. They don't interrupt it as much, and they're willing to let the movie feel sincere at times. Like, there are moments where they're just like, nope, shut up, feel. And it's like, okay, good. The thing with Marvel movies recently, they've been trying a little too hard to be the, oh, we're the quippy Joss Whedon-y kind of characters. And it's like, yeah, you could be funny, you could be irreverent. Guardians is one of your funny, irreverent franchises, but at the same time, when there's a serious scene, the character's about to die, we don't want a fart joke to interrupt it, essentially. And the Guardians movie, this one in particular, is far better at knowing when and where a joke is appropriate, and where it won't so much break the flow and willing to let these moments sit, as opposed to the previous two Guardians movies, which were almost allergic to serious scenes. Like, the first two Guardians movies could not even have a love confession without there being some dumb pop culture reference that another character go, what's that? Or a giant fight with the villain where he's finally standing up to his dad without it involving Pac-Man. It's kind of the thing with the movies, and I feel like it's good that they did this, because a lot of people have been looking at that kind of humor in the way it's, oh, we can't take things seriously, ha ha ha, as sort of like immature Marvel part. I am not saying I agree with that. I personally think there is a time and place for these kind of movies, and the Guardians movies are kind of the movies where you can do that. I think it's out of place in a lot of the other movies, where they're trying to have these more serious things, but then they can't, stay serious. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is a good job of meeting those two things, where they still have the good humorous moments and the serious moments. They kind of work together a lot more. They gel better, is what I'm saying. Moving on to the direction and effects. James Gunn is back in full force. I love the soundtrack. It's great. It's used really well. And James Gunn, dude, so proud of you right now. Just massive applause. You did a fantastic job with this movie. So James Gunn, I'm not sure if you remember about this, he got involved in a controversy on Twitter. Disney rushed to fire him, and they rushed to rehire him, and he got the whole movie delayed. This was supposed to be out in like 2018, 2019 or something like that. And it's only coming out now in 2023. And this movie, I'm almost glad it got delayed, because the thing they did was they kind of finished the movie. This feels like a final Guardians movie, and James Gunn went all out on just giving us some of the best shots. Action scenes, really well done drama scenes, great character moments for basically every character. Like, every main character in the cast gets to have a I've done it moment. Groot gets one, Rocket gets one, Cosmo gets one, Kraglin, Drax, Gamora, even Nebula all get a chance to have their moment. This is like their scene. Mantis communes with these massive space creatures. Kraglin finally masters Yondu's arrow. Cosmo holds together two massive planetary objects with his mind. Rocket gets to finally get revenge and closure. Drax gets to feel useful and show off that he's intelligent in different ways. Peter gets to finally come to terms with death. It is literally a closure to their arcs, and I love it so much. I'm honestly amazed they were able to give each of these characters a clear arc that has been haunting them since the beginning of the series, and have them move on in such a way where they didn't need a cheap death to give closure. They didn't need to kill off these characters to give them closure. No, they have them going off to live their own lives, and a handful of them remain to reform the Guardians with new members. So, I'm just very impressed. Not a lot of movies can give you that kind of closure, especially long-running franchise like this that feel the need to keep having these characters there. I understand it's partially just because some of these characters, their contracts are running out, like Peter Quill, Chris Pratt. He's probably going to be done with Marvel movies for a while. I hope he cameos again. He's always fun. I do want to hope to see Nebula and Drax. They'll probably become like more side characters or cameo characters. Rocket and Groot you can kind of do forever because they're just CGI. So the people who voice act them can keep doing that for years and years and years. Same thing with Cosmo. I actually kind of like the Cosmo they give us here. Usually they give him more of a male voice, or a male dog in various forms of media. They made a female dog. He's still essentially the same, but I really like the voice actor they chose for him. And the whole time he's like, "You called me a bad dog, Kraglin." It's like, "Call me a good dog. I'm not a bad dog." It's like, "I'm not calling you a good dog. You're a bad dog. You're a bad dog, constantly teasing me." And it's like, Cosmo saves the day. He's like, "All right, Cosmo, you're a good dog." It's like, "Yes, Cosmo is a good dog." I love Cosmo. I've only seen him in like 3 things, 2 of which were animated things, and 1 of which was this. But every time I see Cosmo pop up, ever since I watched that Guardians of the Galaxy TV show as a kid, I was always just like, "Oh, Cosmo's so cute." So if you like telepathic, telekinetic super dogs, Cosmo is definitely for you. I just wish he was in more of this movie. Honestly, I would love to get a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4, but with, like, Rocket's new team. Because Rocket takes over as leader after a lot of the others step away. And he's like, I think it's like Adam Warlock, Groot, Cosmo, a new character who's part of the plot that I'm not going to really spoil, Kraglin, and I think there was one other person, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, with all that said and done, is there any one scene that really stood out to me? Yes, absolutely, 100%. It's the hallway scene. So during like the final battle, they have this moment where they go back. They could have run, but they go back to save these kids. And it's like Drax pulls open the metal doors, and there's this hallway of like biological chimeras with cybernetic augmentations and robot limbs, and a bunch of guards with guns. And they walk in there, and they have this amazingly shot scene where the camera focuses on like one member of the group as they charge in to go fight them, and they're fighting, then another person will pull into view, they'll have like a team up moment, and that camera will then follow the new person. It'll happen again and again, and you're darting from one person to the next, watching as this team, some of whom have been together for years and years at this point, fight in near complete synchronicity. It is gorgeous. Like, seriously, it's one of the best sci-fi hallway scenes of all time, and there's actually competition for that, because remember, Rogue One had the hallway scene, this had the hallway scene. Honestly, those are my top 2 sci-fi hallway scenes. They're amazing, and the fact that this is anywhere near that level of quality is astounding. I also like that they didn't have a mindless CGI army for most of it. Yeah, they have the biomechanical CGI animal things, but that's not actually as bad, because Kraglin actually takes most of those out, and the Guardians actually focus on a mixture of those things and people while fighting the main villain. And the CGI army feels less redundant in this one, because it's sort of a dark reflection of some of the robot twisted horror stuff that you've seen. Like, it's not like he pulls this out of his ass. He was clearly building up to this. You look at his previous work. The fact that Rocket was one of his previous experiences, we see some of his friends, you were like, yeah, I see how he went from that to that. I see where these things came from. I understand why he made them. And there's sort of the dark horror of, biological experimentation that he has been doing this whole time. So it adds to the main villain's motives and, I guess, general evilness, and I liked them. I thought it was better than most of the CGI army fights. In fact, I think it would probably be one of the best CGI army fights there, partially because it's in the background. It's not a major part of the fight. You get a lot more person-to-person stuff going on. And also because they have some connection with the main villain and the hero's trauma, as opposed to just a power the villain, pulls out of his ass. Like, he just pulls an army out of cans. Like, no. This guy's been pulling biological life out of cans this entire freaking movie. That's not new. So, I liked it all. I thought it was pretty good. And, yeah. So, let's get into the conclusion. In conclusion, I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is one of Marvel's best movies. It's definitely my favorite thing in Phase 4. And honestly, it makes me reevaluate and want to give every single movie I've watched this phase one grade lower, because I feel like I've been being a little too nice to these movies. I almost want to give this 11 out of 10, but I'm going to have to settle with a 10 out of 10 because I don't do overscoring. This movie made me remember why I love some Marvel movies so much and how good Marvel movies can be. In fact, it's made me reevaluate what I previously thought was the best thing in this phase, which was Black Panther 2, which I actually liked a lot. I thought it was very good. But looking at this, I'm like, yeah, but these movies can be way better than that. Like, don't get me wrong, that movie had some strong themes and some strong scenes from some good actors, but cohesively, a lot of Phase 4 has not worked anywhere near. This feels like a very tight, well-written movie that takes advantage of all its stuff, uses all the moments well, and in general, is just really good. Go see this. So, yeah. Moving on from there, we have the announcements. Hello, everybody. I am back. I did not get to stream this past week. Sorry about that. But I am reading, or listening to, I guess, By a Silver Thread. I started listening to it, and then started reading it physically, and then the audiobook came out, and I'm like, oh, I'll switch to the audiobook. So I've been listening to that and reading as well. I want to get both experiences, because I think Rachel Aaron has a lot of audiobooks, and I like to comment on the reading and audible experience if I can. So that's going well. In addition to that, I am also currently going to eventually be watching Scream 6. I was actually going to watch that tonight, but I'm like, you know what? I will skip streaming tonight, and I'm just going to go watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Looks so fun. I want to review it for it. It's been out for a while, so that was that. I'm not sure I'm going to keep playing Jedi Survivor for stream. I'm not even sure I'm going to review it. I might, but I'm probably going to have to get the footage on my own. Probably not going to get through streaming it. And if that happens, I will be moving on to Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which is coming out. Looks like a lot of fun. I'm eager to see how the game has grown since Breath of the Wild. Should be interesting. I mean, seriously, a sequel to Breath of the Wild basically sells itself. So, yeah. That's basically everything coming up. I'm not latched onto any TV shows lately, so I will have to look into getting a good review for TV. So, yeah. Moving on from there, we have the outro card. Look at the subscribe orb. Go to it. Click on it. Go to my channel and subscribe. And up here we have a video from this year and also a video YouTube recommends. So there's that playlist. There's the video. Check them both out. And I will see you all next time. Bye.